Hello everybody, what is up? I am Julia, friends call me J-Rock. Thank you so much for tuning in for yet another video. Before you go, I will ask you to please subscribe, that way you don't miss any video updates. Today, the topic is the presidential debate. We're talking politics today, and there's plenty to talk about. I actually have a notepad with everything that I have put together for this conversation. I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but we're gonna go through it. So, first things first, if you watch the debate, I think we can all agree that Hillary won the debate. Well, before we go anywhere, people are gonna ask what my political ideology or affiliation is. I am a registered Democrat. I am conservative on some views, but overall, my views are aligned mostly with that of the Democratic Party. And so I'll just put that out the gate. All right, back to it. So yes, Hillary won the debate last night, but the debate overall was pretty much a disaster. And I've got a couple reasons for that. Number one, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump fought like a divorced couple. It was a lot of bickering back and forth, going at each other's necks when there are real issues that needed to be covered and we didn't get to them. Secondly, poor Lester Holt. That man gave it his best shot. I've seen him dragged all over social media for not doing that great of a job, but I think he was trying to find the line between letting people debate and letting there be some healthy dialogue, and then trying to step in and fact check, unlike Matt Lauer, but that's another conversation. But, so he tried to come in where he could, but he kept getting steamrolled by Donald Trump. I mean, Hillary cut Lester off too, so let me not be fully biased, but he was steamrolled by Donald Trump. But I feel like he hit the bar afterwards. Like, I feel like he was just like, F this. I need some Jack and Coke or something. But on that note, I would like to nominate Roland Martin to moderate the next debate. So Roland, if you are watching this, know that only you can prevent the train wreck of a debate. Lester Holt didn't really work out as well as we would have hoped, but he gave it his best shot, so kudos to him. Next thing, Hillary didn't cover all the topics that she probably could have because she was too busy trying to defend herself against Donald Trump or take jabs at Donald Trump, when there are real policies that I know that she has laid out that she could have easily covered, but the conversation kind of steered in the direction of trying to gain ground against Donald Trump, which for independent voters, if she's trying to win over Bernie supporters or conservatives that are kind of teetering, she missed out on some real opportunities. And then finally, one of the last things I wanted to say about the debate, I feel like I know less about what Donald Trump has planned for running the country than I did before the debate. I feel like his entire policy for the country is, well, we're gonna do some stuff, and then we're gonna talk to some people, and then we're gonna do more stuff, and it's gonna be huge. I don't really find that to be sound policy. Build a wall, take the oil, bring the jobs. I mean, it's like reading a children's book, see spot run. Like, there's no thought behind it, there's no meat behind it, there's no substance. It's just, I'm just gonna, put out these catchphrases and hope that they catch on. And then obviously the doozy of the night, where he talked about stop and frisk and the fact that it wasn't ruled unconstitutional when it was, and he thought that we need more police in our communities and we need to implement stop and frisk more broadly, even though it aids in racial profiling. Not a fan of how the overall debate went. I felt like it was more of a train wreck than it needed to be, but Hillary was on good footing when she left. If you read any of the news this morning, Donald Trump was complaining about his microphone and all these other things. So clearly he's kind of nursing his wounds on the day after, so that it gives even more indication about who won the debate and who didn't. So let's cut to the overall discussion. All right, so on the overall election discussion, now I know there's so many people that I've talked to who are like, I'm just disillusioned with this whole thing. These can't be the two choices we have. I get the disillusionment. They're not our ideal choices, but we also have to think back to the fact of they were nominated because of the process prior to that. So let me just talk to my conservative Republican friends. You guys had a plethora of candidates to choose from. Candidates who were less extreme, who had real policies, and those candidates didn't make the cut. So we can't all be confused now when you have Donald Trump as your nominee. My recommendation would have been to trim the field earlier and get behind somebody who is a little bit more along the lines of what you guys hold as your values, and perhaps there would have been a different outcome. And for my Democratic and liberal independent folks who were supporting whether it was O'Malley or Bernie Sanders, I know that you guys are not thrilled with having Hillary Clinton be the nominee. I get that. But at the same time, lest we forget that Hillary Clinton has done this before, and she lost the last time. And we all know how that worked out. So that being said, people got behind her opponent the last time to get into office the man who is now the president of the United States. So if we really wanted to get behind Bernie or O'Malley, what we needed to do was be in the streets voting for these people, bringing out others to vote, because somehow we were able to get the vote out enough to the point where Barack Obama was supported before he became the president. So it's not like it's something we couldn't do, that our votes didn't matter, nothing mattered. The fact is we were able to get President Obama into office. So if we really wanted Bernie, as much as we're crying in the streets about Bernie or whoever your candidate was previously to Hillary Clinton being nominated, we didn't try as hard as we could have. That's just it. The political process worked as such that the person who got the most votes and the most backing is the person who's the nominee. That's how the process works. Let's think about where we are right now. It sucks if you think that if you don't like both of the candidates right now, life sucks. I get that. But you have to think about, in the nation that you live in, how do you really want it to be run? Yes, it may not be run ideally under either candidate, but which one would be worse? I don't think, and people love to tout Bill Clinton's record on X, Y, and Z, and Hillary's record on X, Y, and Z. But when you think about who it would be the candidate that you would really want to run this country, is your disdain for Hillary so bad that you would let someone who is a misogynistic, xenophobic, racist, liar, coward, to quote Don Cheadle from that commercial. Hopefully you guys saw that Star Power commercial. It was pretty good. To someone who is a coward to really run this country, someone who has no plan for anything. Say what you want about Hillary and her experience, or what she's done, or what her husband has done, but she's someone who's a career politician. And like it or not, someone who's a career politician knows how to get things done well enough for them to be able to maintain a certain level of power. That means that the extremes that Donald Trump wants to put in place wouldn't be something that Hillary does. I mean, I don't know how many of you have Muslim friends, but I do. And I hate the idea that someone is okay with saying, let's just ban everybody. Let's just ban everybody for no good reason. You know, whatever you want to say about terrorists, ISIS, whatever, let's just ban everybody. That's just not the American way. And I don't think that we can, whatever your disdain is for Hillary, you can't get behind someone who is literally willing to alienate the entire population that's not white and male. I don't think that it makes sense to get behind that person. Let's think about it a little further. Folks say, well, I don't like either choice, so I'm not going to vote. That is your prerogative to do so. You know, as an American citizen, you have a right to vote or not vote. But for me, I'm just going to share what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose to vote. Why? Because there's someone who went out and put their life on the line for me as a Black woman in America to be able to vote. And for me to say, I'm just not going to be part of the political process because I don't like the choices we have, I think for me, I can't speak for other people, for me, I feel ungrateful. If it really wasn't important for me to vote, the people who came before me would not have fought on my behalf. They wouldn't have died on my behalf for me to have this opportunity. So I can't tell other people what to do when it comes to voting, but for me, I believe that it's important. And let me just share some other pieces with you. I hear a lot of people saying, well, my vote doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who I vote for, it doesn't affect my life anyway. What I find interesting about that is, though, people want to drag Bill Clinton for all the things that he did wrong to black people or to other ethnic groups. But if it doesn't really affect your life, as you're saying right now for this election, why are you mad at Bill Clinton or President Obama? People are going and yelling about the fact that President Obama didn't do everything he was supposed to do for black people. But if the president doesn't affect your life, you can't complain that he didn't put things in to affect your life because I thought the president doesn't affect your life. You can't have it both ways. Either you believe that the president and electing a good president is important, or you don't. That means that if you choose to abstain from the entire process, you can't complain about what happens because you chose not to be a part of it. So, and for those who, just to go back to the presidential election, the president is responsible for the entire United States, 300 million people or so. So the idea that the president is responsible for implementing policies that will affect your community specifically doesn't make any sense. If that was the case, you wouldn't need legislature or you wouldn't need any sort of justice system or anything below the federal level, if that was the way it was supposed to be designed. But that's not the way our society is set up. We have local and state elections, we have congressmen, we have senators, we have people who are responsible for things below the presidential level. So if you're choosing not to vote for anybody until the presidential election, you can't be mad about what hasn't changed in your community. You hold the power to make changes in your community if you choose to vote for the people who are actually doing the things in your community. Your mayor, your councilman, the sheriff, whoever it is in your community that is voted in by the people, you have a voice. So don't wait every 4 years to vote and then complain that nothing in your community has changed. If you want to be part of the process, be part of the process. For people who are saying that, again, the president's not going to affect my job or not going to affect my life in any way, so it doesn't matter if Donald Trump gets in, you have to think about how the role of the president, how that affects things, because again, he's the executive branch of government. So he is able to affect your money. He's able to affect the taxes that get taken out. He's able to affect the health care that you're able to get. Let's say you don't want to talk about money. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about public safety. Let's talk about foreign policy and our relations with other nations. Let's talk about the viability of currency around the world. All of these things can hinge on a presidential election because the person in office can change the tone of conversations globally because their ideologies and their policies and what they want to put in place can either be aligned with other nations and the overall global economy, or they can be the polar opposite and we find ourselves in problems. So before you think that someone who's extreme and who can be baited with a tweet, not to throw in that line here, but someone who can be that unhinged, that unpredictable, that volatile when essentially being the leader of the free world, if you put that person in office, you have no idea what can happen in your life. You have no idea what can happen to your job. Because let's say he disbands all these trade agreements and builds this wall and all of these things, you have no idea how that will impact the company that you work for and the jobs that they're able to keep in this country. So before we think about, nothing matters, think about the fact that there are people who work to make sure that everyone has the right to vote, whether you're white, black, whoever. There are people who are from every walk of life who work to make sure that you have the right to vote. So before you turn down that opportunity because you don't like the choices that you have, remember that there are people who went before you. And also, if you choose not to be part of the process, you can't complain about the results. You can't be unhappy with what happens. As the saying goes, if you choose to not be part of the solution, you choose to be part of the problem. So I know that I talked you guys to death, but I had to get that out because I was seeing a whole lot of stuff on Twitter and Facebook. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Please put some love in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you choose to vote. If you're not choosing to vote, again, no judgment here. I highly recommend that you do, but I understand if you don't want to. But until next time, I want you guys to laugh hard, love hard, and dream big. J-Rock out.